Stephanie Syjuco is a Filipino-American conceptual artist born in Manila, Philippines in 1974. She earned a BFA from the San Francisco Art Institute and an MA from Stanford University. Her works investigate and challenge cultural objects by changing their context to subvert their meaning. Her recent work focuses on how photographs and imagery help perpetuate racialized and skewed ideas about history, race, consumerism, and citizenship.
I think one of the reasons I got interested in this idea of like bootlegs or counterfeits is actually, it's an extension from this idea that there is an authentic. And, from a very personal standpoint, I was really curious about what it meant to be an authentic Filipino.
Syjuco's early Black Market series was part of James Harris Gallery in Seattle, Washington. It focuses on Syjuco's birthplace, the Philippines. Syjuco found photos of local Filipino marketplaces on the internet and proceeded to digitally black out the merchandise and foodstuffs being sold. The resulting photos now depict blacked out blobs of forbidden potential, a recreated black market of goods symbolically cast as illegal because they are not beholden to the mass market, so-called legitimate channels of capitalism. Syjuco's 2017 exhibit, Total Transparencies, at the Ryan Lee Gallery in New York, plays with the parallel of digital removal and cultural removal, depicting various ways in which textile artifacts shape perception. One part of the exhibit is a large black cloth with the words "I am an American" printed in white on it. Syjuco's design was lifted from a 1942 photo taken by Dorothea Lange of a Japanese shopkeeper's sign hung after the bombing of Pearl Harbor. The store's owner was forced into a Japanese internment camp after the photo was taken. Syjuco's recreation is meant to bring back the presence of the sign and its message, even though it is no longer physically here. Commenting on how citizenship is unfairly altered by leaders in the past as much as it is today. Says curator Anna Burghardt, this piece alludes to the contested patriotism required in times of war, especially in the United States, and to the inherent racism that has helped build ideas of national identity and belonging. Another part of the exhibit is a photo portrait of a woman sitting beneath a drapery checkered by an off-white grid that resembles a Photoshop transparency background. The sitter is an undocumented college graduate who received their education through DACA, which in 2017 was threatened by U.S. authorities. The portrait visualizes the erasure of self that many immigrants are forced to endure in order to maintain their rights as citizens. The transparency grid blurs the lines between digital and physical photography. Syjuco acknowledges how digital editing of photographs allows for things to easily be altered and erased, and the ways in which this impacts people of color and the retelling of history. Another exhibit of Syjuco's that comments on the false representation of American history and patriotism is Double Vision, which runs at the Amon Carter Museum in 2022. The Carter Museum is focused on presenting the best of American art, focusing specifically on the American West. Syjuco uses digital editing to compile paintings from the Carter Museum's own collection, to comment on how the American West is romanticized and falsely represented to reinforce colonialism. The exhibit includes prints of a cowboy statue being handled by a museum docent, utilizing gloves, color control palettes, rulers, and other behind-the-scenes tools that museum visitors don't usually see, commenting on the role museums play in retelling history on an institutional level. The viewer is meant to think about the ways that artists have skewed people's perception of the American West, as well as the role that museums play in propagating these narratives. Syjuco's 2021 exhibition, Native Resolution, reclaims Filipino representation from the American imperialist lens by utilizing photographs taken from the 1904 St. Louis World's Fair. These images, taken by others, paint Philippine individuals as barbarous and backwards, thus justifying U.S. interference. Syjuco rephotographs the archival pieces, prints them on Gampi paper, and then crumples and distorts the images, shielding the Filipino faces from leering, judgmental eyes. Each wrinkle and crease in the photos reasserts the physical and cultural destruction caused by the original photograph's moral intent and its dehumanizing context. The Brooklyn Rail praises her work as disrupting the situationness of pixel-perfect photographs and recuperates Filipinx bodies unhomed and made digestible by American imperialism.
What I'm doing is kind of like absorbing and processing the world around me, and it's becoming political. I don't think I have a choice anymore. It's just my reality.
In conclusion, Syjuco's works of appropriation are sharply political and relevant because her reclamation of images made by others brings a new social context to them. From her works commenting on consumer culture, to the industry of curatorship itself, to the sharp critique of racial erasure, her works are acerbic and socially engaged. Many people view imperialism as an issue of the past, but there are long-lasting effects that are still present in modern society, as well as current unfair treatment of immigrants. By bringing back to the modern-day cries for equality from the last century, Syjuco highlights the still-present struggle immigrants face in having their own humanity heard. By reshaping and distorting Native images taken by others, she removes the power those images held as weapons of American imperialism and racism. In the end, because of her appropriation, we are able to see the struggle, equality, and dignity of Native peoples through their own eyes.